Hey gang, I'm Fahaam, your financial freedom guru. Let's turn your dreams into billionaire success stories. Now let me take you on a journey. A journey that starts in Moscow, winds through the heart of America, and explodes into the digital world with one of the most powerful inventions of our time, Google. But this isn't just about a search engine. This is about vision, risk, freedom, and a guy named Sergey Brin, who dared to dream beyond borders, beyond obstacles, and beyond expectations. And by the end of this story, you'll realize that billionaire success isn't a straight line. It's a blend of brains, bravery, timing, and belief. Sergey Brin wasn't born into wealth, privilege, or Silicon Valley luxury. He was born in the Soviet Union in 1973, a time when Jewish families like his faced discrimination and limited opportunities. His father, a mathematician, and his mother, a researcher, wanted more for him. They didn't just want comfort, they wanted freedom. So when Sergey was just 6 years old, the Brin family made one of the boldest decisions of their lives. They packed up and left everything behind to move to the United States. Imagine the courage it takes to leave your homeland, your career, your friends, and start over in a foreign place just for the chance to give your child a better shot at life. That right there. That's an investment. Not in stocks or real estate. In legacy. Sergey was quiet, curious, and deeply analytical. Growing up in Maryland, he stood out for his love of puzzles, logic, and abstract thinking. He didn't just want answers, he wanted to understand the questions. It wasn't long before his talent in mathematics began to show. Encouraged by his parents, he excelled in school, eventually earning a degree in computer science and mathematics from the University of Maryland. But Sergey wasn't after a job or a paycheck. He wanted to build. To innovate. And so, he headed to Stanford University for graduate studies in computer science. And that's where destiny took a sharp turn. At Stanford, Sergey met a fellow visionary, Larry Page. At first, the two clashed. Their personalities were different, their opinions strong, and their debates intense. But somewhere in that creative conflict, magic happened. They both shared a frustration with how hard it was to find relevant information on the internet. Back then, search engines were basic, easily manipulated, and far from smart. Sergey and Larry believed that information shouldn't just be available, it should be ranked, organized, and genuinely useful. And so, they got to work on a project they called Backrub. Sounds strange, right? But it was revolutionary. The idea was simple. If a page was important, other pages would link to it. They developed a system that analyzed those links, and from that, Google was born. Now here's where the journey takes guts. Sergey and Larry pitched their idea to investors and tech companies, and most of them just shrugged. They were told things like, search is already solved, or, there's no money in search. But they didn't quit. They believed in the product. And they believed that the internet wasn't just a toy, it was the future. With a small investment from Andy Bechtolsheim, co-founder of Sun Microsystems, Sergey and Larry launched Google from a garage in Menlo Park. No fancy offices. No big salaries. Just vision, caffeine, and code. Google exploded. Not slowly. Not quietly. It redefined how the world searched for information. And as more people used it, more advertisers wanted in. Google's business model shifted from just being a great product to being a monetizing machine. Brin played a key role, not just in the technical development but in shaping the company's bold, unconventional culture. He wanted Google to be a place where innovation wasn't a buzzword, it was a daily ritual. Employees got 20% of their time to work on passion projects. That 20% birthed Gmail, Google Maps, and AdSense. Sergey wasn't chasing short-term profits, he was building an ecosystem. As Google grew, Sergey's wealth soared. But unlike many billionaires who focus only on profit, Brin kept asking deeper questions. How can we use data to improve lives? How do we keep the internet open and accessible? How do we use technology to solve humanity's toughest problems? These weren't marketing slogans for him. He invested in moonshots, wild ideas that had the potential to change everything. Self-driving cars. Project Loon. health research through Calico. Sergey was always 10 years ahead of the world. But let's step back for a moment and talk money. Sergey Brin's net worth. It reached well over $100 billion. Not by selling a product one time, but by creating a platform that billions of people rely on every single day. That's the power of scalability. That's the lesson you've got to take home. Want financial freedom? Stop trading time for money. Start building something that works even when you sleep. Sergey Brin didn't clock in and out. He created value that the world couldn't live without. He also understood something even more powerful: freedom is the real currency. With his wealth, Brin didn't just buy houses, yachts, or jets, though yes, he has all of that too. He bought freedom. Freedom to invest in research, to explore space, to fight disease, and to reinvent education. He used his position to influence how the world thinks about artificial intelligence, privacy, and open-source technology. That's billionaire thinking. Not just how much you make, but what you do with it. And let's not forget, Sergey faced criticism too. As Google became more powerful, it drew scrutiny. Concerns about data, censorship, competition. Being a visionary isn't always easy. But Brin handled it with a rare mix of humility and persistence. He stepped down from daily operations at Alphabet, Google's parent company, but he didn't step away from his mission. Behind the scenes, he continued to fund projects aimed at extending human life, understanding the human brain, and protecting the environment. Here's the emotional truth. Sergey Brin's story is the story of every immigrant parent who dreams of a better life for their child. It's the story of every student who feels out of place but refuses to stop learning. It's the story of every entrepreneur who gets laughed out of a pitch meeting but goes on to build an empire anyway. Brin is proof that you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to be consistent, curious, and courageous. So what can you take from Sergey's billionaire journey? First, problems are opportunities. Google was born from a frustration. Second, partnerships matter. Alone, Brin might have been a genius. But with Page, he changed the world. Third, bet on yourself. When no one else believed in their idea, they bootstrapped it until it became undeniable. Fourth, reinvest in what matters. Brin didn't sit on his billions. He fueled them into the future. Fifth, freedom is the endgame. Not just financial freedom, but creative, intellectual, and personal freedom. You don't have to be Sergey Brin to live like him. Start where you are. Learn relentlessly. Build things. Ask better questions. Look for patterns. Stay humble. And most importantly, don't let fear stop you from taking that first step. Sergey's journey wasn't a straight road. It was full of uncertainty, failure, recalibration, but he kept moving. And that movement is what separates the dreamers from the doers. So if you're sitting there thinking you're too late, too young, too old, too underqualified, remember, a kid who came to the US with almost nothing built the world's most powerful search engine. If he can do that, imagine what you can do. This is Fahaam, reminding you that your story doesn't have to be ordinary. You weren't born to settle. You were born to build. And the best time to start writing your billionaire journey is now.